Hello everyone. Today I'm going to be making a muscle suit out of a workout athletic sleeveless shirt and some low density upholstery foam or couch foam. This type of foam is used a lot in making furry suits, for example, and obviously upholstering couches, also mascots. A lot of people like to use high density foam, and I got a lot of insight from LOL Workshop, and I wish I would have gone out and got an electric carving knife. I did not. I underestimated just how hard and time consuming it is to trim and shape foam, but I put in the time and effort because I wanted to look as good as I could possibly get it. So the patterns for this are up on Facebook for free. But if you're looking towards making an actual full muscle suit, there's tons of PDFs out there you could just Google and probably find. Especially if it's going to be the type of muscle suit that you're going to be latexing over, say for like a symbiote or something like that. And also stick around to the end of the video because I'm going to be doing the drawing for the Riot mask giveaway. Okay, so the first thing I had to do for all this was wrap my body in plastic, which I didn't even use like saran wrap. I used like old grocery bags, trash bags, just anything I had that I had saved. And then I took some EVA foam and just kind of made a neck. And I actually made this for my Carnage cosplay. That's in an older video. You can check that out. I'm pretty sure I have a few more, at least a clip or two of me being wrapped in plastic if you want to be amused or just see how I did it. A little more so than in this. But then, once I had myself wrapped in plastic, I cut it up the back, or actually I didn't do that, my fiance cut it up the back, and then taped it together and I stuffed it. Once again with whatever I could, mostly being disposable grocery bags that I've saved. I actually don't put them in the trash and I don't recycle them. And recently they've been banned, but I've just been saving them for years on end so that they don't end up in the trash and then I actually do reuse them. Not I send them to a recycling plant, but I actually use them myself. And then even this body mold essentially that I made from my Carnage, I also just saved in, ironically enough, another disposable plastic bag. And now that I have this, I can stretch my undershirt over it so that I can start gluing the muscle pieces to it. Okay, I have placed a sleeveless black workout shirt. It's spandex and stretchy on top of my mannequin. Now, once I glue everything on, I'm not going to be able to take this off the mannequin simply. So once it's on here, it's pretty much on here. As I glue everything onto it, it's going to become let's just say solid enough, so to speak, that I'm not going to be able to just peel it off like I put it on. I'm going to have to remove all the stuffing from my chest mannequin in order to essentially deflate the mannequin and pull it out. So keep that in mind. Once it's on, it's on. And I use some tape, packing tape, and just one strip of duct tape to hold the bottom up together once I got the shirt centered and lined up. And next I'm going to start cutting my upholstery foam, and this is used in a lot of things from furry costumes, mascot costumes, or muscle suits. And I cut out my chest patterns, and this foam was a little thick, so I trimmed it down. If you want, you could just buy different thicknesses of foam, but I just had one thickness. I cut out my chest and my clavicle pieces, and I'm probably going to glue those on first. However, before I do that, I want to add some shape to these. Okay, so to glue these on, I'm using Loctite spray adhesive. Now, the instructions on this, you spray both sides of whatever you're going to join, kind of like you brush contact cement on both sides of whatever you're going to join. And you let it sit for a few minutes until it gets tacky, and then you stick them together. Now, the more that you put on a surface, the longer it takes to get tacky. So, what I do to make sure I have an even bond is I will take the foam pieces and I will spray them quite heavily with the spray adhesive because the foam really sucks it up. So I spray it in until I start to see some forming up on top, and then I stop. I let those pieces sit for about an hour because it takes a really long time for all that adhesive to dry. And once it does dry, the backside of the foam is now sealed. And I do the same thing with the shirt, although the shirt doesn't take quite as long to dry out and get tacky, of course, as the foam does, because the shirt actually doesn't absorb all that much. Not like the foam. Foam absorbs a whole lot. So once that's done and I've waited an hour, I go back and do it again, put an even layer on both sides to be joined. I let it set for about 3 to 5 minutes until it no longer feels wet, and then I line them up and start gluing the pieces on. Now, you don't have to shave these like I just showed in the previous clip with the scissors beforehand. You can do it after. And even after I put it on, there's some areas I'm going to have to even up because I'm just eyeballing both of these. But they are still rather similar. I did a pretty good job of getting them even. So next I'm going to go and start gluing on the other pieces with the chest number 2, and then starting with the ab 1, 2, 3, and 4 down the center. Alright, I have glued on the chest 2 pieces, and then add the ab 1, 2, 3, and 4, 2 of each. I'll have a little gap on the bottom here, however, but the other ones I lined up through the center. And I don't think I mentioned this, and I doubt you could really see it on camera. I don't think so, but I used a Sharpie to put a line whenever I found the center of the shirt so I could have all this as straight as possible. Granted, I can always adjust it a little bit when it's on me, I suppose, if it's not perfectly straight, but if it gets too far off to one side or the other, it's not going to look right. Okay, so I put all these side pieces on, S1 through 8, and S1 just kind of fills in this little triangular pocket area. Then there is, of course, space between it like these other ones, and the other ones just start filling in as you go down. Now I'm going to try to trace the patterns onto the papers for you all to download on Facebook in this order. I'm probably not going to be able to do all of them, but I'll be able to do 1 through 4 or 1 through 5 and then so on with the abs beside to give you some reference. But you can also look at this here or screenshot this if you like so that you can have a reference if you're trying to follow along. Alright, so now I'm just going to take my scissors, and where it's all kind of jagged and bumpy, I'm going to go through and smooth and round all that out as even as possible. Okay, so I've taken my scissors and smoothed out these two about as good as I'm going to. They don't have as much of a step pattern to them going down the sides. And I've got as far as these two, but as you see, these still have that lumpiness to it. I still have to do all this stuff. But I'm just piping in real quick to show you what I have done at this point, because at this point, it's been about 8 to 10 hours of work to get this far. Now granted, there is some wait time when I'm waiting on like adhesives to set and things like that, but I've been working on this for about 8 or 10 hours at this point. I can't remember what time exactly I started, but give or take a couple hours, that's about that long to get this far. So I'm going to continue to trim this, and then next I'm going to move on to the shoulders and some stuff on the back. Okay, I've put on my shoulder pads here, and same as all the other pieces, I pre-rounded them, but I've begun shaving, well, the slow process. You can still see it still has that jagged, stepped look a lot more than, say, like these do. But I've just started to trim it down. I wanted to have it come flush into here, so I'm slowly shaving this off all the way around. Then I want it to taper down a little bit more too on the ends here. And you'll notice these are hanging off because this is sleeveless. I do have a plan for the biceps. I'm not sure if I'm going to get to that in this video, but I'm going to probably have to take this apart to do the arms. So the arms may be in a later video. I don't know. But that's where I'm at right now. Shoulders. And after this, I will do the shoulder blade muscle pieces here on the back. Although I'm not even sure if I really need to pad the back of it, but I'm going to do it anyways. Okay, at this point we're about 16 hours of work into it, and I've cut out the back pattern pieces, which the one that I uploaded is this side here. But I haven't got anything further than just the rough gouging and trimming. I have to now smooth all this out, which is what takes so long. And I've got the basic shape worked out and started to smooth out the shoulders, but haven't got that far on either side. Like I say, it's a pretty slow process using scissors, but it's coming along. Okay, so now that I have all my pieces on here, I'm just waiting for this basically to dry. I did take my adhesive spray once I was totally done and sprayed around and in between all the foam, but I was careful not to get any in the center. It does make the foam pretty stiff because the foam absorbs it and it dries and it's just kind of tacky, but all the centers, I made sure I didn't get any of that stuff on. You can see it's kind of gunked up here. But yeah, I just sprayed around the outside everything just to make sure it was nice and sealed. I don't want any of that stuff coming loose. I did that on the front and the back of this. Now I'm just waiting for it to dry. So hopefully in a day or so I will be able to pull the stuffing out of this dummy here and try this on with a shirt so y'all can see what it looks like. Okay, so that was me wearing this with this Champion shirt stretched over it. This shirt is essentially a type of spandex and is very stretchy, as you can see. I actually got this at a thrift store, so I don't have any sort of info on where to get that exact one. But with it being gray and black, I thought it would be pretty appropriate. Now, originally the logo that is right here looked like that, but I've been gradually removing the logo itself by just scratching it off. However, I'm going to have to do something else, either paint that with an airbrush or something to blend it in, which I'm probably going to have to stretch it to paint it, or try some different chemicals that I have to remove it. So that's obstacle number one, still on that. However, this fit pretty good. Wasn't the easiest thing to get on, but wasn't super hard. I had no assistance putting it on, and I put the shirt on over it, which is a super tight fit. But I moved around in that last clip and in and out of the light and the shadows and stuff so you could see just exactly how it plays and looks over this. Like some of this looks rather thick when it's not on me, but with the shirt it does compress it a bit, which is what I was hoping it would do. I was worried if it didn't compress it enough and I didn't like the way it would look, I was going to have to trim it all down. But as you can also see on that picture, I need to go ahead and make the rig for the arms so I can pad the biceps because, yeah, I just don't have very big arms. But yeah, pretty pleased with this so far. And if you're doing a similar project to this at home and you want to have all this definition really showing through, you're going to have to do a glue down of whatever your top of your costume is over this and have it glued to it. Same way I glued this on. I don't think that would work the best with something that's as tight as what I have this, because this here is so tight, it's almost too tight. I might have to try to go find a large in the same size online, start from scratch with that, but yeah. Okay, and I've decided to go ahead and do the biceps. Now there's not really going to be a pattern for this. I just measured on my arm from where the top of the shoulder padding on this stops down to a little bit further than I actually want it to go. I'm ultimately going to trim and round all this off. As I mentioned before, I'm using 2-inch foam. So I rounded off the edges on both pieces, and then I cut out this section here, and this part's actually going to attach to my arm. From here, I'm of course going to further shape it, but I didn't want to get too deep into that, so I could at least show a decent explanation of what I am doing. And I also took some 2-inch wide polypro strapping. This actually came from Nerf guns, but you don't need to have Nerf guns. You can just go get some 2-inch wide polypro strapping. And contact cemented that, yes, contact cement, on the inside. And if I haven't mentioned previous in the video, I'm going to mention now, the reason why I just didn't get a shirt that had sleeves is I wanted this open area so I could have some breathing room. Okay, so the curved part is going to go out to the front of my arm. And this here, I cut a V in so it will match up with this, more or less. Of course, it's all still really thick. And I also cut a little shape in the bottom and rounded off the back a bit. And from there, I've taken on the other one, and haven't done this yet on the other one, that way you could see the different steps of it, is I've started to round this off and give it kind of a muscle shape. And then once I get it how I like it, I'm going to attach it to this here, and I'm going to trim off the excess. Okay, so I got both of the outer arm pieces glued on, and they were way too thick. I looked ridiculous, so I had to trim this down on this side less than a 1/2 inch, and about this on the thickest points, probably a 1/2 inch. Then I used an extra piece of the strap that I had, the polypro strap, and I actually contact cemented that in, which took about a 1/2 hour or more for the contact cement on this to actually set, so I had to apply it twice to this. And similar situation here, I used a scrap piece of EVA foam to attach the front part of my arm, so this will wrap around my arm and be pulled tight when the shirt's on. Okay, so yeah, try to move around here in and out of the light, get some shadow and see how it comes through. I also threw on my Wolverine gauntlet for the other one. Still need to do a little bit of rounding, I think, on the bicep area, but overall I feel like it's come out a whole lot better this way. And still 50-50 on whether or not I want to glue a spandex shirt over this or not. That I haven't quite decided on yet, but yeah, it definitely does help, but it's not so huge that it looks uber fake. Because the first time that I tried this on with the arms, it just looked like shoulder pads on football players or something. It looked pretty crazy. So yeah. Okay, so I like the mobility of it. However, after watching the previous couple clips of me wearing this several dozen times, I've decided to not actually use this shirt. I'm 99% sure at this point this will not be used. Part of it is you still can see the logo. So even if I just dyed an area of it over it, because I thought, I could technically just airbrush or dye all of this one color, because putting black on black, it still stands out. Like, you can still see it, So that's kind of the whole problem there, see? But the other problem is you can still see the logo despite the screen printing acrylic ink that I used. So I can't really I thought I could get rid of the logo, but I cannot get rid of the logo. The other thing is, it's a little bit too small, and I don't quite like the way it looks over this. I am thinking that I may actually have to get a larger size spandex shirt and end up using the Maximum Tack spray adhesive and gluing it over this so that it's just one piece. Maybe not gluing it on the sides because there's no foam there. But like in the areas where there's a definition for the muscles, or like in between here, gluing the front, gluing the shoulders, I just don't feel like it shows up enough. And I don't want to make the foam any thicker, because if I do that, then I run into the problem of just looking too cartoonish. But the definition just does not show up enough with this shirt. Despite that, I am still going to conclude this video. I don't have the resources or the time to run out and find another shirt right now, although don't worry, I will continue this cosplay. Getting closer to getting it done. I could only wear one gauntlet in the video because I still had to operate the camera. And the neck piece that I had on is from a previous build and doesn't quite fit with the mask. It's a bit too high and a bit too tight in all the wrong areas. It's actually meant to go with the Batman cowl that I have, and that too I will be making in a future X-Force Wolverine cosplay video. Okay, so that's pretty much going to wrap it up. And even though the shirt that I had been saving for 9 or 10 months since I found it to use for this cosplay turned out to be a bust, I do feel that, especially for my first all-foam muscle suit, this is pretty much a success. I just have to, I tried to do something different by using this. I didn't really want to go the same route as everyone else and glue it down. Part of the reason for that was practicality. I wanted to be able to use this in other cosplays. Partially just because it took so many hours of hand trimming to get this done. But, the main benefit of something like this, of course, is, obviously the mobility. I can squeeze this and move this and bend this in, like, any manner, and it moves just fine. Which means that when I'm wearing it, I have a lot more comfort. I can do things like sit down easily, or ride in a car, or strike a much cooler pose, because I can get lower and move around. Whereas when I'm wearing something that is made out of EVA foam, like this Punisher vest, for example, I just can't. My mobility is just limited, regardless. And one of the nicer things, at least about the Punisher vest, is the way that a tactical vest sits is right about your belly button line. So I can actually fold at the waist pretty easily. But with, other cosplays, Batman, Hellboy, things like that, once all that foam is on me, I can't sit down or move. Which leads to the next problem, which is going to the convention. I have to drive there. I have to travel there. I have to get to that place. And if I can't put on any of the cosplay, I have to take it all with me. Now, if I happen to be fortunate enough to have a hotel room, which I never am, it's not a big deal, because I can just take, my costume with me to the hotel room, put it on there, take the elevator down, bam. However, driving there, especially if I'm driving several hours, it just has to sit in the car. Then when I get there, I got to put it on in the parking lot, which is not fun. Not such a huge deal with certain things like Ghost Rider. Or like with Carnage, for example, all I had to do when I got to the convention was neck piece, mask, and the hands. I already had feet, legs, chest on, could ride in the car just fine, sit down, stand up, jump around, whatever. But Predator, excuse me, had to drive to the convention, took an hour and a half to get there, and had to put it on in the freezing cold in the parking lot. But totally worth it. It was a lot of fun. I'm not complaining, but just stating, like, being able to have something that's mobile not only helps with driving and travel and things like that and putting the cosplay on and wearing it, but just being able to be active and move around. Let's say I'm out with another cosplayer and I'm taking photos and I want to get up on something high, but I don't have a ladder. I could easily climb up, but now I'm in all this foam and in this costume and blah, 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 etc., etc. So hopefully with something more mobile like this, I'll be able to get some better photos and do some, more active things. Okay, so that pretty much concludes the outro, except next, before the video ends, I am going to do the drawing for the Riot Mask giveaway. Okay, onto the drawing for the Riot Mask. I have put all the names in my She-Venom, and now I shall draw one. Okay, who do we get? Sev Pool, you are the winner. Congratulations to you. Thank you, everybody, for participating. And I really do appreciate it. Part of the reason I filmed this outro in two parts is I wanted to go get all the names and make sure I didn't miss anyone, just in case there was somebody at last minute. And also wanted to check my PC, because there's things I can do on the PC that I cannot do on my phone. For example, randomly YouTube will mark comments as spam, so I have to go and check that. Because a lot of times they're not, and I just approve them, but for whatever reason, I don't know what it is that causes YouTube to flag them, but they do. So just to make sure I didn't miss anybody's name, and from the point in time that I filmed this to the point in time the video will be uploaded is about 8 to 10 hours from now. So if you did enter at the last second, sorry I missed you. But the reason why I started doing this and did not do live stream anymore is the last couple times that I tried to live stream it, it didn't work. It came out looking really, really bad. So I want you to be able to hear who it is. So congratulations, Sevpool. Please contact me through Instagram or Etsy or somewhere, just not Facebook, because they never send me notifications. At least not for that page. I don't know why. But message me your address, and as soon as I can, I will get this shipped out to you. And as always, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give a like. And if you're not a subscriber, please feel free to subscribe. I am going to be doing more giveaways in the future. Probably in the next month or so. But I'm always doing videos with cosplay projects. So if you enjoy that, you're into that, you want to check that out, please feel free and go ahead. Any comments, questions, concerns, leave them below. And thank you for watching, and don't forget to go and check out LOL Workshop's channel. If you haven't yet, his Incredible Hulk really is awesome.